Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Meet Touchstone Essentials Live. I'm Craig Daly, Vice President of Global Sales. And we've got Cindy with us tonight. And of course, Cindy Klement is an acclaimed speaker, published author, nutritionist, herbalist, adjunct professor. She teaches the doctors how to do nutrition. We're excited to have Cindy here always. And we always want to remind you of her wonderful book, Your Body's Environmental Chemical Burden, that's won all kinds of awards. So, Cindy, thank you so much for being here. Tell us what we're talking about tonight.
My pleasure. Craig, tonight we are going to be talking about something called dysbiosis. And this is where the gut bacteria is all messed up. And based on all of the recent information we have, this dysbiosis effect in the gut is implicated in so many diseases today, as well as obesity and allergies and just all kinds of stuff. So I wanted to give a presentation on that so they know what what it's all about.
Yeah, that's exciting. And you always hear about this, the gut-brain connection. So there's so many things that are implicated there. And of course, Touchstone Essentials has some wonderful products for that. So take it away.
Okay, let's do it. Folks, good evening, by the way. Dysbiosis, the actual definition of it, it refers to an imbalance in not just the microbial species, but a reduction in diversity. So instead of having lots of different kinds and lots of good and just a smaller amount of the not so good, everything gets mixed up when it becomes in a dysbiotic state. And as a result, then the beneficial bacteria become minimized, and then the other bacteria that's harmful starts to increase in number. So it's something that we really have to consider. And really the whole gut story began, believe it or not, almost 30 years ago. There was a physician who was treating gut bacteria in children with ADHD, and he was treating people with anxiety and depression with probiotics, and he was seeing results. And this fellow, and I can't remember his name right now, but he was really instrumental in bringing this gut bacteria information to the world. So it's been around for about 30 years. But this intestinal microbiota, it can be viewed today as an actual organ now. We're calling this the bacteria, not the colon itself, but the bacteria in the gut is classified as an actual body organ because it can contribute to the well-being of a person. And when the gut is in this dysbiotic state, kind of like when we talk about dyslipidemia, where the bad cholesterol is high and the good cholesterol is low, it's the same thing. So dysbiosis of the gut means the bad is too much and we don't have enough of that good bacteria. And when it's in that state, it affects our nutrient transformation, our vitamin supply, our immune system, and as Craig mentioned, that brain-gut connection. But what's interesting is that dysbiosis can also occur on other microbiomes. We have a microbiome on our skin. We have it in our mouth, in our oral cavity, as well as in the vagina. So this dysbiosis can occur, in other areas as well. Now, the body is full of colonies of harmless bacteria, and that's known as the microbiota. And most of these bacteria do have a positive effect on our health and contribute to the body's natural processes. Now, the interesting numbers here that you see on the screen, the adult human gut contains about 100 trillion bacterial cells, and we have, or supposed to have, over 1,000 different bacterial species. So it's really a complicated organ. And there are several major divisions of bacteria that are grouped together that are found in this intestinal microflora. But the two most dominant groups are the Bacteroidetes and the Firmicutes. But something to note is when the gut bacteria or the gut microbiome is largely dominated by this Firmicutes group, it is linked to obesity as well as cardiovascular disease. So we want more of those Bacteroidetes, and we're going to find out how we do that tonight. So when dysbiosis happens in the GI tract, it's typically a result of we've eaten too much sugar, we've gotten too many food additives, or we've had this accidental chemical consumption, such as lingering pesticides on our food, or the BPA from the bottled water that we're drinking. Sometimes this dysbiosis is caused by consuming more than 1 or 2 alcoholic drinks a day, or medications such as steroids or birth control pills or antibiotics, or even if we have poor dental hygiene that allows that bacteria to grow out of balance in our mouth. Remember, our mouth is connected to our throat, the esophagus, the stomach, and all the way through the intestines to the gut. The last thing that can affect it is that high level of stress or anxiety, because again, we have that brain-gut connection, and the brain is connected to the gut by this very powerful nerve that, again, it has bidirectional communication. So when we are stressed and we can't sleep and we're anxious, that affects the gut. And likewise, if the gut has this dysbiotic state, it can affect our ability to sleep or our anxiety or depression and things like that. Now, of course, antibiotic use is the most common and significant cause of a major alteration in the body's natural microbiota, because what antibiotics do is they kill almost all of the beneficial bacteria in our body. And then that too reduces the diversity. And then, of course, it suppresses the immune system. Now, I'm not saying that if you need antibiotics not to take it, but we do have to correct that situation once somebody does have to take those medications. Now, as I mentioned, obesity is associated with gut dysbiosis. And when that, let's put it this way, because the intestinal microbiota influences our digestion, our absorption of nutrients, our metabolism, and our storage of ingested nutrients. So if our gut's a mess, we're not going to have a good metabolism. We're going to be storing more of those digested nutrients than we should. But again, along with diet, we've got environmental factors, we've got genetic factors that can influence this development of dysbiosis. Nicotine use can affect that, as well as a sedentary lifestyle. There is growing evidence that exercise can benefit the intestinal microbiome and improve the diversity. So something that doesn't even go into our mouth, just by getting that movement going can help with that as well. Now, some of the common symptoms that one could or could not, everybody's different, but some of the symptoms of dysbiosis could be bad breath, or just an upset stomach, or nausea, or bloating, even constipation and diarrhea. Sometimes we see a difficulty in urination with people, or vaginal or rectal itching, or chest pain, or rashes on the skin. Remember, I said there's a microbiome on our skin or in our vaginal area. So all of these areas can be affected. Sometimes people just have a lot of fatigue. They have that fuzzy brain. They can't think or concentrate. Again, that brain-gut connection, as well as anxiety or depression. So some of the foods that one needs to stop eating to help improve that gut microbiome are a heavy carbohydrate-laden diet, or fermented cheeses. So not aged cheeses like a hard mozzarella. A Parmesan. That's usually not considered something bad for a microbiotic changing diet. But these fermented cheeses, like a blue cheese or something that's aged, or foods that are high in sugar, or looking at the label and seeing corn syrup in a product, or even just maple syrup or cane sugar. If we're getting excessive fats in our diet, or getting, again, too much alcohol, all of these can be associated with that gut microbiome that we need to change. Now, there are, when we have a combination of changes, we change our diet, we take probiotics, we've got that healthier diet, we're exercising, we have smoking, we stop smoking. they're usually sufficient to create an optimal condition for beneficial gut bacteria to thrive, but we also need other nutrients. So getting some vitamin A, the B complex foods, vitamin C foods, vitamin D foods, vitamin E foods, minerals like calcium and magnesium in our foods, the essential, the omega-3 fatty acids, all of these also help to build that better gut microbiome. And then, of course, let's go back to this side. When we talk about these nutrients, we also have to remember that we need probiotics and prebiotics because they're the ones that help enhance that natural microbiome. Now, remember, probiotics are living organisms, and what they do is they offer benefits by restoring health to the gut microbiome. The prebiotics, on the other hand, are the food components used by our natural microbiome. And so our natural gut microbiome uses these prebiotics for food to create more probiotics in the gut. So therefore, they're really beneficial as well. Now, when we talk about the foods that we need, most of them are found, in these particular products. We can find the vitamin A foods in super green juice and essentials and organic super protein. I want you to notice how many times in every week after week we talk about super green juice. I'm telling you, every time I do a presentation, super green juice ends up in it because it just has so many good things in it. What is it? Something like 44 different plants. And remember, these plants have antioxidants. Some of them provide prebiotics. Some of them have vitamins and minerals, and just such an amazing product. But again, we can get our beta carotene or our vitamin A in super green juice, essentials, organic super protein. We can get our vitamin C and our vitamin E foods on a daily basis. Super green juice, essentials, organic super protein, as well as super green juice. We can get our B complex, our vitamin B6 and B12, the things that we need for our gut. Again, in these foods, calcium, magnesium, vitamin D, they're all found in various forms in these particular foods. So it's just incredible, the products that Touchstone Essential has to help with so many of these things that go wrong with our bodies. It's just phenomenal. And we can't forget about organic super fiber because as we know, diets that are high in fiber, here, let me go back here. I'm going to go to a different slide on my screen. Okay, so when we get this fiber, consumption, what that does is it increases the diversity in our gut, and it limits the colonization of those pathogenic microbiomes or bacteria. So it's really a very important product. We talk about the other products a lot, but the super fiber is so important. Last week, we covered how it was important for insulin, to balance our insulin and glucose in our body. When you balance the glucose and insulin, it too affects the gut. So all of these products just have such far-reaching effects. So not only does superfiber, of course, work on our gut, but it works on so many other things in our body. And that's what I love about these products, is that they work on just every symptom that we talk about, every problem in the body. They tend to cover it in some way or other. Let's talk about these. Let's talk about things like spinach and kale. Spinach can help promote a healthy gut bacteria because it reduces the inflammation. When we have inflammation in the gut, it can lead to a leaky gut. When we have leaky gut, bacteria enters our bloodstream and it affects our immune system. So something as simple as spinach, whereas kale contains a specific type of sugar that helps fuel the growth of healthy bacteria. And then we have milk thistle. The medicinal component of milk thistle is called silymarin, and this is extensively metabolized in the intestine by the gut bacteria to promote gastrointestinal health. Whereas dandelion is rich in inulin fiber, and that is a prebiotic fiber that again helps to nourish the gut microbiome. We also have artichokes, and that artichokes contain both prebiotics and probiotics. And then again, that's going to significantly and positively impact that composition of that GI microbiota. And then we're going to have better immunity, better digestion, better nutrient absorption, and just feel better cognitively and mentally. And then also in this whole thing, we have to support the liver cell processes and the bile production with these antioxidants and herbs, because they all do that. And then what that helps to do is support the clearance of the inflammation from our intestinal system. So where do we get spinach? We get spinach in super green juice and in super greens plus D. We get kale in super green juice. We get milk thistle and dandelion and artichoke in super green juice. So artichoke is also in essentials in super greens plus D. But as you can see, if you're taking this stuff on a daily basis, you're getting so much more than you may have ever imagined. It's very true. Oops, I'm going backwards with my clicker again. Craig, what is my problem? There we go. Prebiotics, probiotics, they help to keep the gut in balance. They promote that intestinal barrier. So they help with that leaky gut. They prevent that bacterial translocation and then help to reduce that inflammatory response. We've got leafy greens, as we mentioned, like spinach or kale, and they're excellent sources of fiber. They're full of folate, vitamin C, vitamin K, vitamin A. And of course, as we mentioned, these probiotics can reduce that low-grade inflammation in the body. Probiotics such as Bacillus coagulans, they regulate the microbiota. They inhibit the growth of those pathogenic bacteria. And then that, of course, is going to make our immune system so much healthier. We also have Lactobacillus gasseri, and that's prevalent in infants and in the adults' microbiota. And that, again, helps to maintain that gut homeostasis, that gut balance that we're always striving to get. Now, there's one particular probiotic. It's called Bifidobacterium bifidum. This was one of the first microbes to colonize our human GI tract when we were infants, and it's the most common one found in the body of mammals. It has, of course, positive effects for our body, but in clinical trials, another one of the Bifidobacterium family, which is called longum, what this does is it counters the effects of obesity. It offers protection against inflammatory bowel disease. It reduces inflammation in the gut, and it also helps to alleviate infectious diseases in the body by boosting that immune system. Now, of course, super green juice has 4 types of those beneficial probiotic bacteria. We have about 1 billion colony-forming units in every serving of super green juice, and that gives you the Bacillus coagulum, the Bifidobacterium bifidum and longum, and then, of course, that superstar, the Lactobacillus gasseri. Now, in the super greens plus D, we get over 5 billion colony-forming units in a serving. So the gut then gets replenished with this beneficial bacteria. And then also in the super greens plus D, we've got those plant-based enzymes and that prebiotic inulin that helps to strengthen that gut microbiota. So, I mean, wow, we've really got the good stuff. Now, when it comes to the prebiotics, we've got Jerusalem artichoke, and that is found in a number of products. We've got the mushrooms in the super green juice and the super greens plus D and essentials. We've got the flaxseed. So we've got the nutrients that we need to build this gut. So keeping that gut healthy involves getting also enough protein and plant food choices versus those simple carbohydrates. So we talked about last time about how all carbohydrates are not created equal. So we've got simple carbs such as table sugar, and then we've got carbs such as pea protein. And the legumes have a glycemic index of, let's say, 24. And so that's a very low glycemic index. Our bodies can handle that. And when we've got this good bacteria going in our body, we want to keep as much of those high glycemic sugar foods out of the gut as possible, because that's going to affect that balance. So getting enough protein and keeping the carbohydrate choices to healthier glycemic index is great for building greater diversity of helpful bacteria. And it's, to get that diversity back. So protein, remember, it's a major functional and structural component of every cell in our body. And when it comes to the gut, the protein develops those tight junctions. So I always go like this with my hands. I mean, our gut certainly it's more microscopic than gaping holes. But just as an illustration, if the gut is leaky, we've got to get enough protein to build those tight junctions back. So it's more about, reducing inflammation in the gut, tightening up the junctions. They're literally called junctions, by the way, to tighten up those junctions, and then the nutrients going through there, building it back up with prebiotics and probiotics. That's how we heal a gut. That is exactly how we do it. Now, I love this picture. I got this picture somewhere, and I don't remember where, so I don't know if it's legal to use, Craig, but I had to show it because it's so telling, because diet certainly plays an important role in what the microbiome looks like. So we talked about medication and stress and genetics and a lack of exercise. Remember, that also affects the gut. But what I love about this illustration, and I tried so hard to find where I found it, and I have no idea where. I mean, I probably found it 15 years ago. This is a perfect illustration of what we're talking about. If you get more of a plant-based diet, you have more of the bacteroidetes, and those are the ones that create a lean body. When you have more of the firmicutes and a poor diet, that's what helps to put the weight on. And this is interesting. This is why there are fecal transplants today. Now, not every hospital does it, but for the morbidly obese, they are taking fecal matter from lean donors who are high in bacteroidetes, and they are transferring the fecal matter to the morbidly obese to facilitate a change in the gut microbiome to help those people lose weight. It's crazy, but it's working. So again, when we increase the health-promoting bacteria with the lactobacilli and the bifidobacteria and the fibers and everything, there's a shift in the gut microbiotic balance, and then we get more of these bacteroidetes in the gut, which is so very important. A healthy ratio, not that we could ever count this, but from what I read, a healthy ratio would be 12 to 620, meaning only 12 parts firmicutes and 620 parts of the bacteroidetes. So think about what your diet is doing to your gut. And then let's go a little bit further with how we can correct that. Fulvic Minerals Plus. Well, first of all, fulvic acid, it's a component of humus, which is that really highly nutritious layer of the earth. And it's that highly nutritious layer that feeds plants, but it feeds the plants, but it also feeds our body, and it ensures that both the plant and our gut grow strong and healthy. And the compounds that are found in fulvic acid help nourish the digestive tract and also boost that good bacteria to repopulate and form that healthy gut microbiome to improve that gut health. It's recommended, of course, that you use Fulvic Minerals Plus with filtered water, not tap water, because the chlorine interacts with those humic acids in a very negative way. So always use the filtered water if possible. And remember that the Fulvic Mineral Plus contains something called lithothymnium calcareum, which is a mineral-rich red marine algae, and it grows in the cold waters off the Atlantic waters near Ireland as well as Iceland. And what this red correlaceous algae does is it grows its own shell, which is really rich in calcium and magnesium, but it's extremely useful for detoxification. Now, lastly, of course, if we're building the gut, Pure Body is sized to detox the gut. The National Institutes of Health published on PubMed in 2019, and they actually have this posted, that zeolite clinoptilolite purifies the internal environment of our body. It maintains the gut microbiota homeostasis for healthy brain activity. It improves the antioxidant and anti-inflammatory activities, and therefore improves the overall well-being of the patient. So that's from the National Institutes of Health. Can't get any better than that. So Pure Body targets the toxins in the digestive system and throughout the body, but it has that sizing that ensures that absorption. So this is a passive detox. It's very gentle. It's very safe. There's no intestinal or digestive discomfort with it. So let's clean up our gut, support its integrity, and repopulate that gut microbiome with the right balance of those microbes. So there you go, Craig.
That sounds exciting. I've always heard health begins in the colon, right? It might be better to say health begins in the gut, because you're thinking about food and digestion and then the colon.
Yes, but I really think that it was Dr. Bernard Jensen who said that back in the 60s and 70s, Craig, and I think he was onto something. He didn't understand the gut microbiome yet because that wasn't discovered until the early 90s. But when he worked with his patients out at the ranch, he always focused on the gut, and he got tremendous results with patients. He did the colemas, he gave them raw goat milk, he did fasting with them, and a lot of herbs to clean them out. And so I think he was kind of on the right track. He just didn't know. He was ahead of his time.
Yeah, he was. Well, there's so much. You think about all of the good things that come when you focus on the gut. Energy, immune system, mood,
better
mood enhancement, all of that from focusing on the gut. There's just so many things, and we've got some great products for that. Thank you, Cindy, for that wonderful presentation. We appreciate you. So good to learn all this information. Tell us about next time, the 27th, right?
On the 27th, we're going to talk about antibacterials. I'm sure during COVID, you saw all that antibacterial stuff that people were rubbing on their hands and doing all that crazy stuff. Oh man, talk about messing up your gut microbiome. So we'll go back to the gut microbiome a little bit in that presentation, but I want you to understand about the effect of that and how to get the residues of that out of your body.
Oh, nice. That'll be fun to learn. Cindy, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us tonight. We'll see you next time. Have a great night.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.